In almost every conversation over the last few months, there is a business challenge presented that is specific to balancing budgets, the rising costs that seem to be fixed, the shifting enrollments, certainly tight budgets. In many ways, you all are operating a complex enterprise. You have public scrutiny and expectations. You're dealing with legislative challenges, regulatory constraints, and limited discretionary dollars. So the challenge is real and the stakes is high. The stakes are high when it comes to educating the leaders of tomorrow. So for the next few minutes, we're going to focus on an area of your budget that's often treated as fixed, your utility spend. There is significant potential for cost containment, operational efficiency, improving comfort in your instructional spaces. Well, I want you to hear from a couple of guests from one of the largest districts in the state of Florida, facing many of the same challenges that you face. And they've seen incredible results by focusing in the energy space. 20% reduction in their energy cost, no capital outlay required. They did not need to cut programs, and there was no significant challenge to anyone in the school district. So we're going to move this conversation to our guest. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Grego. Dr. Grego, thank you for joining us. Dr. Grego brings more than 4 decades of experience in the Florida public education sector. Most recently, 10 years as superintendent with Pinellas County Schools. And under his leadership, the district achieved significant gains with raising the graduation rates, narrowing achievement gaps, expanding magnet, STEM, and career programs. And his district earned national recognition for innovation in digital curriculum, technology integration, and twice ranked #1 in Florida for parental choice. What I love about introducing Dr. Grego is he's also received some interesting accolades. Florida Superintendent of the Year, Lifetime Achievement Award from University of South Florida's College of Education, and is nationally recognized for his commitment to equity and student success. So Dr. Grego, after that introduction, thanks for being with us. I'll turn it to you.
Thank you. Thank you for such a kind introduction. As a former superintendent and to the superintendents and district leaders online, you can safely say that you are leading and operating a school district, regardless of the size, which is highly complex and perhaps one of the toughest jobs in America today. You're running a major corporation. And typically school districts throughout the United States are provided what's called a per pupil allocation that you must then develop a balanced budget while challenged with rising costs, fluctuating student enrollments, and unstable state revenues. Regardless of the size of the district, whether your district is 3,000 to 5,000 students, 10, 25,000 students, 100, or even over 200,000 students, the budget process is basically the same. To add to that, most state education budgets have limited increases in several categoricals, or what's referred to as unique buckets, that funds must be spent on, such as transportation, textbooks, school safety, and so forth. However, the general operating budget is that main bucket that pays the bills, the healthcare costs, teacher salaries, support staff, and administrative salaries, keeps the lights on and the buses rolling. And many view utility expenses as a fixed cost, and that is whatever the bill amount comes into accounts payable, we pay it. Those of you who closely monitor utility expenditures will agree these expenditures consistently go up every year. Utility costs are probably the 3rd or 4th highest line item in your budget, behind salaries and benefits. And typically, the costliest utility is electric. As a former superintendent of a district with approximately 100,000 students and 126 plus buildings, we were initially spending about $2.2 million a month, or approximately $24 to $25 million a year. And most every year during that budget process, my CFO informed staff that we were notified that utility companies were approved for yet another increase, anywhere from 3 to as high as 10%. Just a 5% increase to us meant that we had to go find another additional $1.2 million And you know where it came from? It always came from that classroom. It always came from the general revenue budget. As you know, district revenue is primarily determined by the number of students. So regardless of the size of your district, the cost versus revenue percentage will be proportionate. We wish things were this simple, right? But let's throw in a few more realities as seen on the chart on the screen. Your state funding increases that may not and many times do not keep pace with rising costs. As mentioned, the reduction in student enrollment, especially after COVID, which can be interpreted and should be interpreted as a decrease in revenue to pay for those increased costs in operating the district. As also mentioned, a continuous increase in utility rates that just don't seem to happen once in a while, but pretty much every year. When you add these things together, the gap between revenue and expenditure widens. On the screen, to the right side of the screen, here's a graph of actual utility cost trends over the last decade. And these are significant increases. And as you can see on the graph, these increases are projected well into the future. On the left side of the screen demonstrates the actual savings for Pinellas County. In case you're wondering about that year 5 to 5.5, well, those are the COVID years, which we were pretty much shut down. Cenergistic provided our district with both a true partnership and a reduction in utility costs by 20+% over 5 years. When faced with this revenue gap that we're talking, something has to give. Here's where utility costs should not be considered a fixed cost. They're not. You have control of them. Remember, it's the percentage of your savings that's critical, right? You know, see, 20% of $20 million or 20% of $5 million is a significant amount of money that can and should be redirected and better spent on needed educational programs, salary increases, new initiatives, or capital improvements. And the great news is that this partnership with Cenergistic does not require any additional funding from your existing or future district budget. That was a huge benefit for us, and I'm sure it is for you, because districts just don't have any spare revenue. Let me turn it back over to Christina to highlight how Cenergistic optimizes energy use and savings.
So traditionally, utility expenses are seen as fixed costs, non-negotiable line items in school budgets. However, with Cenergistic's approach, we challenge this notion. By implementing strategic energy management practices, districts can actually transform these fixed costs into opportunities for significant savings. And the shift allows for this reallocation of funds to critical areas like instructional programs, staff development, facility improvements. Additional benefits beyond the cost savings, partnering with Cenergistic will bring a host of things. Our Six Sigma approach results in a comprehensive program, enhancing building comfort and health, optimizing your existing equipment, and fostering a culture of sustainability for your staff and your students. These improvements not only contribute to a better learning environment, but they also support long-term operational efficiency. And something that surprises quite a few of our clients as they start with us is that they don't require you to buy new equipment. It's our job to find opportunities with what you already have in place. Cenergistic's process is a blend of technology, expertise, and collaboration. And the slide that you see on the screen is focused on 3 core areas where we consistently deliver measurable savings. So first, in the measurement and verification space, the districts we've found that benchmark their energy performance effectively see about a 6 to 7% savings. Our tools like Cenergistic Measure and our GreenX software are built to maximize these results. Our energy specialists that are embedded within your organization continuously use the software to ensure that real-time monitoring is happening with your utility bill data. Next, we will focus on building energy conservation, and this is where we see the largest opportunity, with 10 to 15% in savings. Simple practices, behavioral changes like adjusting temperatures, during those off hours when no one's in the buildings, hyper focusing when the building should be set back, and scheduling equipment more efficiently. That adds up quickly. Our on-site energy specialists, leveraging our optimized platform, help take these efforts even further. Our proprietary software, it really is incredible. It's providing actionable insights, enabling informed decision making, really allowing us to be intelligent in your space. And finally, building system optimization. Most systems can run more efficiently with the right adjustments. This area typically yields 5 to 10% in additional savings. And our engineering team, with some great technical expertise, help drive optimizations across your facilities in full collaboration with your M&O department. So combine these strategies, create a really powerful proven path to cost reduction and sustainability. So to provide a real-time example, I'd like to introduce Clint Herbic. So Clint's the Chief Operating Officer at Pinellas County Schools. He began his career in 1988 as a teacher and a coach. And he's since built this legacy of leadership that's pretty transformational. As a matter of fact, as a principal of Tarpon Springs High School, Clint led a pretty remarkable turnaround. He took a school from a D to an A rating in just 1 year. That's incredible. And it was a first for Pinellas County. Under his leadership, the school's graduation rate rose from 78% to nearly 95%. That's incredible. Clint's work in school transformation earned him national recognition. He was invited to present at the National Model School Conference. And now Clint serves as the district's Chief Operation Officer. He's led major facilities renewals initiatives, modernizing more than 24 campuses across the county. So there's a slide on the screen now that's very specific to what I wanted Pinellas County Schools. And it's referencing the reason we had the conversation with Clint and Dr. Grego years ago. There were business challenges that we talk about often with new prospects that they were facing. You had an aging workforce that really needed some additional support. Succession planning needed to be put in place, and development opportunities on the M&O side with HVAC techs, mechanics, and the head plant operators. It was incredible to also see operational efficiencies gained with the current workforce. And the results of that were savings that surpassed into the millions of dollars over the last several years. I believe the last time I looked, it was a little over $68 million in savings, which was incredible. So in 2015, when we started this partnership, Clint was newer in his position, and Dr. Grego was a superintendent. So I just had a conversation with Clint earlier this week. It's a pretty informal conversation that we had, and I'd like to share a little bit of that with you. So welcome to Clint.
What I wanted to do is just check in with you on a couple of things about our partnership and get your honest thoughts. And I wanted to start with what prompted the district to really explore this type of solution, this type of partnership. Was there anything specific that the district was struggling with, several years ago that it's like, now's the time, we need to do something?
Yes, there were. And at the time, is about 2015, we get data from the state that shows both our electrical use and our overall energy use. And we were near the bottom of the state. There's 67 districts in Florida, and I think we were number 60 in energy use. So we definitely were using too much energy. We didn't know why. We didn't know where it was going. We had no methods to track it at that time. And a couple of years prior, we had actually made some attempts to do those things, and we had tried to put in an energy efficiency program on our own with our own staff and our own people, and it didn't work. It actually kind of fell apart at the school level. A lot of times, even as a former principal, I can remember times where we'd have an event at night, and we gave the order to run the electricity from the end of school all the way through night, make sure people were comfortable. And so going back again and looking at Pinellas as an entire district, we had tried a program on our own. It didn't work. We didn't have the personnel to run the program anyway. And again, going back and just not having a really good idea of why we were using so much electricity compared to the rest of the district really made us turn and kind of look at ourselves and say, we have to do something about this. And that's why we reached out to Cenergistic.
What do you remember about the earliest days of implementation and how you all navigated that with your teams, how we integrated those teams together?
I think one of the most important things we did is right from the start, we had a meeting with our synergistic energy specialists and also our entire team from top to bottom, from our electrical engineers all the way to our HVAC techs, and had a meeting with everybody and made sure that we were on the same page and we had the same goal of getting to a point where we're using electricity, especially our HVAC, responsibly. And we shared the data from the state, and we showed everybody, and we were upfront about how much more we were using in our ranking in the state. And one thing that our team kind of decided and came together with real quickly on was the desire to be ranked in the top 10 for energy conservation in the state. And so that initial meeting with our synergistic, with our energy specialists, and with our team really kind of formed that basis of the teamwork moving forward. And we were able to come to a really mutual understanding right from the beginning.
Have you noticed any changes over the last few years in the energy awareness or the behavior specifically in the schools? Where you communicated, right? So it was a do-it-yourself. Let's just try this on for size. At the school level, it kind of fell apart. And so, what shifted, or what changes have you seen over the past several years that changed your way of thinking about how this could work well?
Well, again, in the beginning, our superintendent, Dr. Grego, had actually shared that energy data with our principals as well, and let them know that, why we're bringing in Cenergistic, let them know what the goals of the district were. And so right from the beginning, people wanted to make sure, and schools and principals wanted to make sure that they did their part to meet those goals. But really what turned things around, and it leads us to where we are now. We have a culture now where schools are competing against each other to see who can save the most electricity from year to year. But one of the things that we did is we instituted an incentive program, and we set aside a set amount of money as a district, and we decided to award that discretionary funds actually to our principals that they could spend however they wanted at their school. But we awarded those funds to schools who reduced their energy usage from one year to the next. And we gave extra bonuses to people who reduced it by the most. And so now we have this kind of a culture of principals are now watching their energy use. They talk to their energy specialists to make sure they're on track to get that year-end bonus. And then we kind of play it up too. We celebrate those schools who make the most improvement.
I love that. That gets everybody involved, and goals are aligned for the big strategic vision. What are you seeing when it comes to practical application during things like big storms that happen in your organization, or construction modernization projects, things like that? What are ways that you've leveraged the partnership with the energy specialist or our engineering and technical teams?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that really started near the beginning of the partnership. And we were hit by Hurricane Irma way back in 2018. And, we have 128 schools that during the few days, the first few days after the storm, hardly any of them had power. And then what we discovered is when the school had power restored and we thought we were on the way to recovery, the next day or sometimes even hours later, it'd lose power again. And we just didn't have the staff to be able to track it. And so right from the beginning, our energy specialist team and the engineers actually with Cenergistic helped us start tracking that. They made connections with our energy provider, and we set up systems right from the beginning of that storm to track and to make sure that once the school was on, it's on. Or if it was single phasing, we knew if it was single phasing, and if we would be able to run those HVAC systems or not. And it really helped us track whether or not we were really able to open school. And then this past year, again, when we were hit by both Helene and Milton, a week apart, again, we were just recovering from Helene, just getting everything back on, and then Milton comes in. And so, again, we leaned heavily on Cenergistic just to help us track and to make sure that we knew that electricity had been restored and we're ready to go for full functioning at a school. And again, without that, we just don't have the personnel after a storm to do that, because we're actually out, repairing wires, and we're hooking up things, and we're getting, roof leaks stopped and things like that. And so the partnership with Cenergistic has really been invaluable to help us reopen our schools.
There's this mention that has come up a couple of times when you and I have talked, and then also recently with Dr. Grego, about teacher salaries, and how when we started the partnership, one of the levers that was pulled by your administration was really specific to how do we increase those salaries and make them competitive in the teacher space. What have you seen from those operational funds being able to be reallocated, and how has that improved in the district?
I think that's one of the things that Dr. Grego did just extremely well right from the start. He explained that, go back to that first board meeting when our agreement was approved, and he explained that to the board members and to the community as well. But we've stuck with that, and I think that's the most important thing. A lot of times that, through the ups and downs of the budget, sometimes it's easy to redirect funds from one place to another. But, he gave his word that that's where this money would be going. And even with the change in superintendency, we're still doing that. And our teachers see that, and they know that money that's being saved is going back to them. It's not going to a different cause. And it really makes it, easier for our teachers to buy into the program as well. And you do see that they turn off the lights behind them. They power down their computers at night. They do the things that we ask them to do even during going into break, because they understand that they're a beneficiary of those efforts.
I know that Pinellas has seen some really incredible recognition from the Environmental Protection Agency over the last several years. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you all share that with the school district, the Energy Star Awards and the Sustained Excellence Award?
Yes, glad to. In fact, we celebrated our building certifications yesterday at a board meeting. And all of our energy specialists were there, and our regional supervisor was there as well. But we had 57 buildings that were building certified. We recognized that at a school board meeting. And Cenergistic presented the school board with a nice plaque for that. And but it's an opportunity for us not just to celebrate and acknowledge, the award, but it's to share the information with the community as well. And so, even at the school board meeting yesterday, not only did we share what building certification was, but we had an opportunity to talk about our partnership with Cenergistic and what it means, not just in terms of winning an award, but we talked about how much less electricity we're using, how much money we're saving, the benefit to the environment, and all of those things were mentioned at that board meeting. And we'll do it again if we're lucky enough to be named a partner of the year again.
Yeah, that's really great. I love the pat on the back, third-party validation directly from the Environmental Protection Agency. It really is something that speaks about the stewardship of the school district to the community, and it's great to be celebrated in front of the board. Pinellas has done an incredible job.
Thank you, Mr. Herbic. Okay, as a former superintendent, it's always about student achievement and parent involvement. I'm going to close with yet another important benefit of partnering with Synergistics, and that's the student connection, sustainability and conservation measures. In individual schools where students are individually involved with those conservation measures, they bring that information back to their families and their homes, and they talk to their parents about conserving energy at their homes, which the parents are extremely excited about. As you see on the screen, they also produce newsletters and energy tips and STEM and STEAM activities, monthly energy awareness activities, and so much more. And what's really taken off in our district are student clubs and involvement have reached the home, as I mentioned. Mr. Herbic also talked about the school board and the recognition, both at the state and national levels. Look, every school board wants to be known as being innovative and forward thinking. This is certainly one of those areas where you can shine. We have truly benefited from our partnership, and we continue to benefit from our partnership with Synergistic. And folks have asked me, was there a downside, or has it been a downside to the partnership? And I can honestly state that Synergistic consistently went and has gone well above and beyond on every aspect of our agreement. I'll give you an example. It's a personal one that I know Mr. Herbic spoke slightly about, is that when we had our recent hurricanes hit the west coast of Florida, Synergistic was there to help. We didn't have to call them. There was no cost to that assistance. We didn't have to ask. That's the type of company I would always want to partner with. So at this point, let me turn it back over to Christina.
Thanks, Dr. Grego. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We hope what was shared today sparked interest for how your district can impact those utility costs and reinvest dollars where they matter most.